Afrofish OG. What is good, everyone? Welcome to episode 13 of the second, I call it second season. I love calling it the second season. I don't know. It makes it feel fancy, you know?
It does.
The second season of Afro in the Know, featuring my guest today, Dylan from Kingaurorusmusic. How's it going?
Hello, everyone. Glad to be here, dude. Thanks so much for having me on the show.
Oh, no, absolutely. And, you know, there's a lot of parts. I've talked to writers, I've talked to developers, I've talked to a fuck ton of gamers, but like, but I don't never talk to someone about on the music side of things.
Yeah, you know, I feel like we're a rare bunch. We're not actually. There's a ton of us, but I think it's kind of that thing where we're along the lines of being near the kind of the end of the pipeline. So people don't usually think about us. Another kind of thing to keep in mind is that music and sound in games, like, we're supposed to be somewhat invisible. Like there's a saying where if you can hear the music, if you can hear the sound design, we're doing a bad job because it's supposed to sit in the background, right?
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. That's interesting to like think of it that way because like usually like that's something that I look for. Like especially like I think one of my favorite games that does this so well is Doom, right?
Yeah.
Doom does this so well with its sound design. Every weapon has weight to it. The music behind it.
Oh my goodness, yeah. Mick Gordon, fantastic composer.
Gordon just goes off, and that's what I love about it, though. Like, and that's the thing. Like, the music side of it can get you so pumped. I don't think one of the games I always think of is like Kingdom Hearts. Kingdom Hearts, I don't think would be nearly as good if that music didn't just knock it out of the park.
If it didn't slap people, no one would play it. And especially with a lot of those like kind of like those Japanese games. But the reason why I kind of say is like I think when it comes to like gamers and enthusiasts, they're the ones who really do notice the music. They're the ones who are kind of getting into it. They're the ones who listen to soundtracks. But like if you listen to like the average gamer, like the average person, the 70% of people who are kind of playing games, they need that experience to be relatively seamless. And so the music is really there to set the mood. In fact, actually in the world of like film and game scoring, the proper name for the music is called the underscore, literally under everything else, because we need that to set the mood, set the feeling, make sure the player is feeling exactly what they need to be feeling, but we don't want it to be up front. What we want to be up front are the dialogue. If there's dialogue, that needs to be absolutely top of the pyramid. Underneath that, sound effects. That's informing the player of like the important things that are going on in the game. And then under all that is that layer of music, making sure that you're feeling the exact emotion we want you to feel every single moment.
That makes sense. And that sounds actually really difficult too. Now that now I'm starting to like think about it from like some of my favorite games, you know, whether it's like I use Metroid Prime is one of my favorite games is amazing. And I think their music is almost very like an ambiance almost. So I don't know if that's the right word to use for it.
Yeah, no, that's a great way to put it.
It's almost therapeutic. And then you have, you know, you go over to something like Halo and like that music gets you hyped up. And is it hard? I guess the really first question, is it difficult to like look at a game and be like, okay, I need to know, I know what that feel is, or like what I need to do?
I think it depends on the game for sure, because like you're also going after different worlds with a thing like Halo, and let's take like the New Alexandria theme for example. Martin O'Donnell, fantastic composer again. That theme, when you're first entering New Alexandria and like Halo Reach, that's meant to be very cinematic, right? That's scored more like a movie where we want the player to feel a certain way. We want the music to be a little bit more center stage. Whereas, let's take like Fallout, for example, a completely different example. In a lot of the Fallout games, especially Fallout 4 and 3, that's more the case where we don't need the music to be up front because the story beats are going to come whenever the player does them. We need the music to more sit and just kind of feel in the background. And how we kind of get a sense of that is we honestly will play the game. Some composers are brought in really late. That's more the film score kind of way of going. And then some composers for games are brought in really early. We might be testing each level as it's built and being okay, what needs to be here? Do we have any story beats that we need to hit where we need to have that music really be a little bit more cinematic is the word I'm going to keep using, although it's very overused in our industry.
That's
Do we need it to be more cinematic, more story beats, or do we need it to just be something that's kind of setting the ground? And then there's also examples of like, do we even need music here? Like Dark Souls, for example. A lot of the game is silent. You're just listening to the sound effects because they wanted to create that claustrophobic, that very lonely feeling throughout the entire gameplay. They want you to feel like, oh, this isn't some grand adventure. I'm wandering through a pitted land, right? So
right.
we have those three choices, and we have to figure out which one's the best. But it usually comes through playtesting.
That makes sense because I'm like as you're explaining it, I'm thinking of like one of my favorites is Elden Ring.
Oh yeah.
And like, if like it is very just kind of lay low in the background, you don't really think much of it until they like get to that boss fight. I think of
Yep.
like Radagon when Radagon lifts up that hammer and the music just starts and you're like,
That's yeah, it's over the top at that point because you're finally gotten to the end boss. And even in Elden Ring, like some of the boss themes are actually like they're still kind of like low key. Like even Millennia's theme,
mhm.
I guess spoilers for anybody who hasn't gotten there, but Elden Ring's been out for like 2 years. It's fine.
Yeah, that's say you fine.
Um, that music and the melody behind it, they're so subtle. Like I went back and I played through Elden Ring, went through the bosses, and I also listened to the Millennia theme and then also the ending theme of the DLC. The boss between oh my goodness, what's his name? Radon and Michaela. And like they hint that theme in there. They hint Millennia's theme into that final boss theme with Michaela. But like,
Really?
oh yeah, but it's really subtle because it's da 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 da, and then it just
Oh, I
repeats
guess
that.
that makes
It's
because
so
Mikola
subtle.
is part of and Melania.
Yep.
And I think of like the one that always got me that surprised me the most was the Divine Beast, the dancing lion, because it
Yeah.
just felt it was so chaotic. It was all over the place. I know it was supposed to be an enemy with like storms and stuff, which it does a fucking good job. But like it was so interesting because, like I said, music is something that people don't think of until the boss hits. Uh,
Totally.
the- you know, I could go so many games. The Legend of Zelda games are another one that I think of so much. You know,
Well, and, it's funny you bring Legend of Zelda up when Breath of the Wild came out, which I honestly I put that like top 10 games of all time. One of the biggest criticisms was that the soundtrack was a much more ambient.
Mhm.
That's not necessarily entirely true. There's lots of like really big themes still in that game, but people weren't aware that they were going after a completely different take with Breath of the Wild. They wanted that music to feel more like it was part of the wind, part of the environment, kind of coming and going in random places. And then only in those kind of like specific story beats or moments would the
Mhm.
big music come out. Versus kind of the older Zelda games where music was playing constantly. Like there was very little moments of silence.
Right, and I mean that's very true though too, because it is like it felt more of a journey. I mean, I think like Breath of the Wild to me feels more like the original Zelda, Legend of Zelda, where they were just like
Yeah.
just drop you in and you figure the shit out on your own. And I kind of like that. Honestly, I actually like that bit of having to figure it out by myself.
Well, and it even ties back to like even the gameplay, right? Like for anybody who's like a huge Zelda nerd, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, they actually follow in the same timeline as of the Fallen Hero, which is what the original game is set in. So, all right, Zelda nerd nonsense. There's three tiers of ways that the hero could have gone after Ocarina of Time in the overall Zelda timeline. I got the Hyrule story up there, so I'm nerded out on this.
I love
And
that.
the one where the hero loses an Ocarina of Time, that timeline includes both the original game and also speculated Breath of the Wild because there's so many hints to that in the game.
That makes sense. Although I will say, the one, and this might be a super hot take, I kind of want them to put Ganondorf to the side for a moment because I want Vati back.
Vadi, oh,
Vati was
Vadi was the Vadi was the goat, man.
dude, Vati was terrifying. I remember playing when I played the Minish Cap, and I was like,
Yep.
"This motherfucker's scary." Like, I don't like this guy at all.
I don't think I've had more trouble with a Zelda boss than Vati from Minish Cap. Like, and I granted I played that when I was a lot younger, so that might be a
Oh,
contributor there. But
it's my
like,
second favorite. Like, it's by far it surpasses Ocarina of Time. It surpasses Majora's Mask. Like, I think it's fantastic. Just
absolutely.
on a Game Boy. Like, for those who don't know, the Game Boys were a very old piece of equipment.
Is
Okay.
that? Oh man, are we getting people who don't know what that is? That's
I don't
scary.
know. Like it was you know they have those like react channels. You know, like those
Yep.
like people react, and one of them was like I saw it was like these kids react to like old technology like that, and the kid was like touching the screen of the Game Boy, and he's like, "Why isn't it working?" And I just wanted to just cry.
You're like, wow, like it's the huge differences. And that's another thing we have to account for is that like in games now, we have such a wide audience. Like it used to be really restricted to just kids, right? Like that was kind of like the way, and maybe a couple of older adults who are enthusiasts. But
Right.
now like everyone is playing games and everyone is playing games on different consoles. Like you got PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo, you got
Mhm.
the computer, you got VR. I've developed for
Mhm.
VR. That is wholly challenging because it's an
Real.
entirely different perspective. Oh yeah.
That
It
must
it
have been
just
fun though.
there's so many different layers to gaming now, especially with how big the industry is. Right, we for a long time here for the past 6 years or so, we were actually surpassing film, TV, and music industries combined. We were
Right.
bigger than all of that. Now we're just below. But we were above all of those combined for a long time. So like gaming has so much money behind it. There's just so many varieties and changes. There's indie games, AAA games. Oh, it makes your head spin.
Oh, it really does, and it's like it's interesting that you do bring that back to like the older ones because then I think of like ones how like like I'll go with like Super Mario 64, right? I
Mhm.
love Super Mario 64. There's like what 12 songs to it, but like there's they're always very evident. You had your Bob on Battlefield, you had the Wants Fortress. Those had the same ones. Anyone that had a water one, they made sure that that one
Yep.
was for the water one. And now you look at like Super Mario Odyssey, and the music is so much whimsical, and it's like it's so interesting.
Only have the
Um,
budget now. That's the beautiful
yeah,
thing. Like early game composers, I really respect them because they were so restricted with what they could do. If we go all the way back to like the NES, they had three voices. That's it.
mhm,
They had three voices that could play at any one time, and they were restricted to the game's actual internal sound card, which was a early analog sound card, very similar to kind of what the a whole bunch of systems at the time were doing, like the Commodore 64, same kind of thing.
mhm.
And they had to have all the sound effects, all of the sound bits, all of the music, all composed onto that. That's all it could do. And the SNES wasn't much better. Like
No.
we got up to 16, which was still super limited. But like the entire time that they were doing this, the goal was always, how do I make this sound as close as possible to what an orchestra can do with this? Like people look at back at those games, they're very nostalgic about the sound of it, but they were trying to emulate orchestras. They just they couldn't. They
No, I mean, there was no way with that kind of technology, and that's why like what was the game? It was Super Mario Odyssey. It was when you went to New Donk City, and like I remember playing it for the first time, and it's at night where they're playing I think it's Jump Up. Pauline is
yeah,
singing,
yeah, yeah, yeah. The
and
big, the big like
I was so blown away. Like this was like it brought me back to playing Super Mario 64 again. Like just that kind of like wonder.
absolutely.
And Nintendo does this so well with all their music, and it's got to be difficult. I've always wondered I've always wondered, is it difficult for like is it like okay, like I have to figure out how like this boss is, or like I have to go like let's say an open world, right? Let's say Skyrim. I know Skyrim, Elder Ring, or the Elder Scrolls does this. They reuse their music,
Yep.
which I think is fine. Like especially for their like during what's that word? During the day or during the night cycles. You know what I mean? Like when you're out in the fields and stuff like that. I don't mind it at all. But like, is it harder to try to fit that for like an open world bit, or like if it was like an actual story beat, trying to find like the proper music for
I think it's different challenges, but I'd probably put it more difficult being the open world because with a story beat, like you can be a little bit more
it? Mhm,
traditional with like how you can write the music. Like you can make sure there's a really grand melody. We can make sure that there's good orchestration. We can always make something more grand.
mhm,
Making something silent is hard. And ambient music, at least for me, I find it to be the most challenging because not only do we have to account for it being played over and over and over again, we also have to account for it hiding under everything. Like one of the tricks that we use in ambient music is that we don't usually put a melody, or we have the melody very subtle because we want that to be out of the way of our primary hearing range, which is around 1,000 to 3,000, which is sort of like in the center more or less of where we can hear of our total hearing range. We avoid that space. with ambient music because we need that to sit in the back. And then on top of that, it's like even if you do that, even if you take away the melody and you try to make it like as subtle and gentle as possible, you don't give it a lot of rhythm. It's very kind of like washy. If a person hears it 50 times, are they going to go crazy? Are they going to still be okay with it? Because like most people, even their favorite song, they might listen to it 10 times and then move on.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be expecting people to listen to it far more than that.
That's fair. Yeah. I mean, I think like I said, Oblivion has this peaceful ambiance to it, and like it's so nice to listen to just in general. I honestly I use a lot of like video game music to sleep. I find it.
Oh yeah, it's great for that. And Jeremy Soule, he's the composer for the Elder Scrolls. That guy, I think, is honestly probably the best video game composer in the world right now, in my opinion. So he's so ahead when it comes to orchestral techniques to like build in those themes and still have it never like the way he writes almost makes it feel like you're not really ever able to expect things. Even after you've heard a piece a million times, it still feels new. And I think that's the ultimate that's the ultimate kind of pinnacle of video game music is if you can write something that every time someone hears it, they still have to pick out something new to it. It never feels old.
Right. It's got to be very difficult. I actually had someone mention he has allegations against him now.
Oh, I didn't hear about that. What happened with him?
So they apparently he was it came out him abusing sexually harassment.
I
hate.
No.
Don't get me wrong. I hate this, and I think if these do come out and to be true, I hope he gets absolutely prosecuted.
100%,
110%. It's always it's hard for me because it's like I feel like every fucking 2-3 years it's something.
Yeah. So this era of like kind of like the micro creator where like anybody can be famous, I guess, in their own way. Oh my goodness. I think it means that a lot of people who probably shouldn't have gotten famous got famous far too quickly.
Mm-hmm. No,
it's too bad. It really is too bad because that comment that just came up, separate the art from the artist. It's hard to do that. Like it's hard to say, it's hard to listen to a piece or watch a show or look at a piece of art after that artist has been like destroyed and being like, I'm just gonna keep thinking about that every time I hear it.
Every time I hear the song Ignition. I'm just like,
yeah.
I'm like, damn. Like
Nobuo Uematsu is the GOAT. Yeah, he is fantastic. He is. Well, for now, hope. I mean, he's old enough. I think he's probably good. He's long time married, so.
So hopefully he stays that way. So like,
hopefully stays that way.
But I think when it comes to like how much the need is for music. I mean, we saw with Expedition 33 this year.
Oh yeah.
And that was it true that it was actually like a SoundCloud? It was a SoundCloud.
Yeah, they found him. So this I recently was actually at the Ubisoft office. I did a composer accelerator there, and I learned that it was called the Ubisoft. It was in association with SOCAN Foundation. It was the Ubisoft SOCAN Screen Music Lab. So a bunch of us composers who were kind of up and comers, we all went to the Ubisoft office and got to work directly under their publishers, their music supervising team, to basically increase our skills, get a little bit more understanding of like the AAA pipeline. A lot of us come from like the indie world, so we don't get to see a lot of AAA. But anyway, something interesting that I learned there, when they're sourcing new composers, like so not somebody who sent to them from an agency or from anything like that, they check SoundCloud. They're looking on SoundCloud for their latest composers. So
that's crazy.
And a lot of the people who are on Expedition 33, the early kind of like discoverers of the studio. I forget the name of the studio this time. Sorry, it's escaping me. But a lot of them are Sandfall. Yeah. A lot of them are ex Ubisoft. So old habits die hard.
That's fair. That's awesome though. I mean, because holy shit, that music got me like into a feeling that I didn't think it was like
amazing.
It was so good. It's one of those like I ask people every once in a while. I'm like, do you guys listen to music outside, like gaming music outside of here, like outside of the game? And like I guess more than I even thought possible with it, because I thought you get some people like, no, I never listened to it outside of it, and I was like, I'm sure you know.
I think it's a trending upwards though. Like so many people now, we've learned in the games industry are listening to like soundtrack. Another thing that Ubisoft mentioned to us was like they are very focused now on the revenue they're going to get from streaming because a lot of people are listening to game soundtracks. And they actually, two things that Ubisoft does with their music to try and make sure that it's more streamable is have more vocals and have more lyrics in their music because both of those things increase how often a song will be streamed.
That's fair. I mean, that makes sense considering there's like songs like that song with Skrillex from Far Cry 3 that got played. I can't think of what it's called.
It's been too long for me, man.
Oh my god, I have to look it up now real quick. Like
do it.
It's Far Cry 3 song when they burn the fields. Yeah, when they burn the fields. Make it Bundum.
Make it Bundum.
Yeah. Yeah, make it Bundum. But I think I know the song, but like it's a really good one. But yeah, there was like because whenever someone says like talks about Fallout 3, that's what they talk about a lot. You know what I mean? Like so I think if you can find a way to get them to stick, it's kind of like no different than like a good fucking gameplay hook. If you can get that music to stick, they're gonna come back to it. Very few, I would say, very few games can get away with having very minimal music. I think of like, you know, I'm gonna say Pokemon does this. Pokemon does this where I think their music is okay. Nothing great. Nothing great. But like, you think about like their greatest music tracks are when they didn't have any, they had nothing to work with. Because I don't hear their music now. I don't think about their music now.
Yeah, I think you have a point there in that like Pokemon especially, they focus a lot of their efforts on making sure that there are really like two themes that stand out. Gym battles and the Pokemon battle. But they're like the route themes. Like people will hum them and they'll remember them, but they really are like they kind of follow into that line of the underscore. We want it to sit underneath. Whereas like the Pokemon battle themes, I think for the most part, most people can remember those ones. But that's because that's the one they put the most effort into. They want you to remember that one.
Right.
Because you're gonna hear it
the DMC
times.
DMC Platinum Games music is one too. Like they just go so hard, and I love it. So my question then is so if let's say Ubisoft comes to you and like, hey, we have an idea for a game. We want to know like a music score for I don't know. It's like a shooting. We have like a first person FPS first person shooter game. It's set in the distant future. It's
distant future. Okay.
Yep. Live service. It's a live service game. You got a lot of like different kind of moving parts and stuff like that. And is that kind of just they just give you that and then you just kind of have to go from there?
It's a long process. How deep you want me to go here?
I mean, it's only been 22 minutes on here. I got time.
So like a conversation of that level, how those kind of things go is typically you're first initially approached and you have some kind of meeting that's just like your feel meeting. Like generally speaking, they already know whether or not they want you. Now this is just whether or not they feel like they can work with you. So you have that. The next step would be kind of like moving into actually looking at the gameplay. So very likely with a AAA game, you're going to probably already have some kind of demo or something that you can play.
Okay.
With indie games, sometimes you get nothing. You get an idea. They're like, we have an idea for a game. You want to be a part of it? And you're like, yeah. And then you don't hear from them for like a year. Whereas if a AAA approaches you or even a AA, they typically have some kind of demo already. So they'll hand that to you. It's like, okay, play through this game. And then we're going to have a conversation. And we're going to go into, after that, what's called the scoring session. This is the same in film and TV as well. The scoring session, spotting session.
Okay.
Literally spotting where should music go. With a AAA game as well, there's so much to consider because they go way harder in how complex their music is. Way harder. In a Ubisoft game, for example, like any of the Assassin's Creeds, whether you like the games, whether you like the music or not, like that is some amazing levels of technical excellence, getting everything to work in there. Like they'll have their battle themes, their overworld themes, and their town themes all structured and built in a way where they can seamlessly blend between each other in a way that makes you feel like the score never stops. Something that the AAAs are really trying to go after, and they've been going after for a long time, is to get closer to, again, the cinematic experience. They want it to feel more like a movie. They want every single moment of you playing that game to feel like it was scored intentionally like a film.
Right.
It's hard to do. It's incredibly hard to do because it means you're accounting for everything a player could or could not do. How do we make sure that every moment the player does this, we
Mhm.
have that feeling of it was scored intentionally. The music follows what the player is doing. And I think that something that suffers in some small games, some smaller games, that they don't think about that. They're just looking to kind of build the ambiance or the mood, but they're
Mhm.
not looking to get the player to feel like things are really kind of following along. Like oh, the music is actually following what you're doing, which is what it does in film.
That's fair. That's fair. And it kind of makes me think of a little bit with I just played Metal Eden, right?
Yeah.
I just played Metal Eden. Great game, by the way. Really fun game. The music is probably towards the back end of it because it's very some mean, but it's very kind of generic sci-fi music of what you'd expect it to be. It's very techno, has that kind of beep and boops in there that you just kind of like, okay, like this is if I would to pretty much draw up a what I would assume would be a music piece for this. This is what I got, and so it's not bad. But I mean, I don't also expect everything to be
But it's not. It doesn't make you stick and think about it. And like
no.
that's the other great challenge is that now we've gotten past all of that. And we've decided kind of what we want to do with the score when it comes to a technical standpoint. The next thing that we decide on is how are we theming this? And obviously with a sci-fi game, the first thing that a lot of people think to do is okay, well we want to just do sci-fi music, electronic sound, synthesizers.
Mhm.
But I think the best kind of stuff is when you go a little bit deeper and you think about, okay, well, this character has motivations of X. This character has like a background of X. How can we bring all of those things into the score? How can we start kind of really making this feel a little bit more unique in its own sense? Like if we take probably the best example of this of all time, Star Wars. When the original Star Wars was being produced, George Lucas obviously famously approached John Williams, and he said, John Williams said to himself, I said to them, he's like, I can't do like synthesizers and stuff like that. That's not what I mean." And George Lucas was like, I don't want that. I want the big orchestral sound because I don't think that sci-fi feels as powerful right now because we're just using all these kind of bleeps and bloops, and synthesizers at the time weren't very strong. But an orchestra and traditional orchestration could go a lot more bombastic, more cinematic. And so when Star Wars first hit the theaters, people were shocked. They were like, "Oh, this is not bleepy and bloopy. This is an orchestra,"
Right.
and it made it so much more epic because the goal was not I want it to sound sci-fi. The goal was I want it to be a story,
That's fair.
and that's obviously a very kind of broad way. But we can even take things like, oh, okay, well, is there any kind of like influences from different cultures in this music? So
Mhm.
if we take Star Wars, oh, what's the one that just came out? Rebels, the video game.
Uh,
Outlaws.
Outlaws.
Outlaws. I went to a talk on their like bar music, and a lot of the bar music is inspired by different cultural kind of musical tastes and timbres that are based around kind of what that bar originally kind of is
That's
based on.
fair.
So
That's
like
fair.
what's the art based on? What are the inspirations? Do we have any inspirations from like the Far East? Do we have any inspirations from like the country of the American kind of Wild West? If we have any of that kind of stuff, let's bring in those musical instruments
Mhm.
because then we can kind of subconsciously get the player to recognize, oh yeah, this is like a country vibe, or oh this is an Eastern Japanese vibe, or this is an African vibe. Even if it's not directly on the nose, like playing that exact music,
Right.
even just having the timbres, the sound of those instruments there gets the player to kind of make that connection.
That's fair. And I think that's really interesting too, because like that's a game that does that, I think, really fucking well, and nobody thinks of is Civilization. Um, Civilization does this
Yep.
really well, where the music is always sitting behind, but you, at the same time, it's distinct enough that and you'll know every single era that you're in.
Yep.
And I love that because it does seamlessly go by. And I love listen. I can sit there. I'm not gonna lie to you. Civ is one of those few games that I will sit there. Like I don't drink, but I will sit there and just this for fucking 6 hours. And my
Oh
wife,
yeah.
I'm like, what are you doing? Like, what are you still
I'm
playing? Yeah,
vibing. I'm just
like
vibing
I'm,
here.
I'm having a great time right now. Don't bother me.
That for me was like Elder Scrolls 4. I remember the first time I ever booted up that game and just like the bump dun 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 dun.
Oh my
I was
gosh.
like, oh man, I
Mm,
really fingers crossed that Jeremy Soule is not what he is because that would really ruin that for me. But
that's
like that moment sitting down is like, I think I was like 12 or something, and like listening to that crazy ass main menu score. Oh,
Oh yeah, no, exactly. And
I
like
just
that's why I
sat
love
there.
I love the fact when you get out into the main world and you're just like, this is awesome. And just another one that actually gets me is another one of Mick Gordon's, but it's from Atomic Heart. It's that
Yeah.
the trailer music they had for Atomic Heart, and I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, this game is all right, but this music slaps. And I'm
Did he do
like,
the trailer music too?
I believe so, yes.
Oh, crazy.
And I'm just like sitting there, and I'm like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not getting out of the gulag in this one.
While we're on the Mick Gordon train, I actually got sold on a game because of the trailer and the soundtrack from the trailer. Mick Gordon, again, Prey. The trailer for Prey has this awesome, like pumping sci-fi,
It's
which it's
2017 one, right?
yeah.
Okay.
And like it just the trailer came out and it was just this. It kind of just hit me right exactly where I'm definitely kind of into electronic stuff,
Mm.
big huge on progressive house and stuff like that. So it just came out big massive synths pumping, and I was like, I gotta play that game. Game was good. It wasn't great, but it was good. The music was excellent though.
I I got into that game maybe 30 minutes. Saw like it was like I got scared shitless because of the, the little mimics in there, right? The mimic jumped
Yeah,
in.
those
I'm like,
those
fuck,
are
start
scary,
beating
man.
them ass. And after I beat one of the mimics ass, I turn around and I see one of those like phantom looking ones with the white eyes, and I just looked. I'm like, done. Just,
I mean I wasn't far away from that, but there was a little part of me in my head was like, yeah, but you haven't heard the full soundtrack yet. So I was like, all right, I gotta push through.
like this soundtrack, I didn't hear nothing. I saw that thing walking at me, and I was like, we ain't doing it today, Chief. I'll solve this a different day.
That was me with Amnesia. Amnesia, talk about a game that builds atmosphere. I was just pooping my pants the entire time I played that game.
Dude, there's some. You know what's crazy is so for some reason, and I think this is actually a trigger from the Legend of Zelda, right?
Yeah.
Ocarina of Time. Because I remember the first time I'm in the Forest Temple, right? And I'm running through the Forest Temple, and like Navi is just like, "Yo, watch for the shadows of monsters that hang from the ceiling," right? And I'm like, "The fucking what?" Like, I'm sorry, what? Like, I look up, there's this bright light, like there's nothing showing up, So I jump in and I see that the shadow parts, the shadow like approaches overneath you and it drops. And I mean, obviously I rolled out of the way because I'm not stupid. But then like, I went and I killed it. Then I was like, okay, cool, fine, whatever. But then I went to years later, I go play Elden Ring, right? And I get to Karia's Manor.
Oh yeah, and the freaking
And
fingers.
I see the finger, and I can't move. Like I am frozen. Like my hand are on the controller, but I can't. I stopped talking. My friend's like, he's like, "Oh, you in the manor?" I'm like, "Yep, yep." And he's like, "Are you all right?" I'm like,
No,
"No."
I'm not going
Like
in there.
trauma just you awoke like crazy.
I came back to that like
Someone came. Actually searched it. 2 women came out in 2019. Allegations of the bad touch. So sorry, guys, to be the bringer of bad news. Love the stream. Don't want to ruin your happy vibes you got going. It's all good. It's all good, man. You know what? No,
it's
the
better
only
to
person.
know. It's better to know when people are shits.
Yes, and it's unfortunate because it is. It's the people that you like learn. You start to admire the most. Turn around and you're like, damn.
Too bad. It's
That is.
really too bad. But I hope that everything he gets coming to him.
Yeah. I hope he. Yeah, I
Too
hope he
bad.
That sucks. But no, I do like there's those moments that just scare the shit out of me. But I think those, like I said, like the Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time does this really well. Every temple's music is fucking iconic.
Yeah. By far,
just,
and like something that I've heard echoed a lot these days. Obviously, people always kind of put Ocarina of Time as #1 game. I disagree. I think it's
I
overrated
disagree.
in
I
that
don't think it's
sense.
number one.
No, but I will say something that really ages well because a lot of the N64 games did not age well. They're ugly as all hell. Anybody who says otherwise is nostalgic as crazy. Those games are ugly, but because of that kind of era where they were starting to really start experimenting with like sampling and stuff like that, like
Yeah.
early sampling, a lot of the music and textures all look really kind of freaky. Like we're seeing that kind of revival now. People are going back to like the PlayStation 1 and 64 era of graphics and
Yeah.
music for horror games because that stuff still
Mm.
hits. Like you play Majora's Mask and you're freaked out the entire time because the music is eerie. It's that early era of digital where things were not high quality, so it sounds kind of wrong. It's like the uncanny
Yeah,
valley of music almost.
that's
And
fair.
then all the visuals are kind of scrungy. Oh, horror hits so good in that world. So good.
I think like, and that's why I think with like one of the like, it's not horror, but I think one of like another game that does it really well is actually Banjo Kazooie. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
that music, I can just say Banjo Kazooie, and I know that music already hits you right in the brain. Like it's one of those music, and that I think you're correct. I think there was just a big, almost like a I won't say revival, but like a resurgence of just different kind of music from all over. And then later on in the PS2 era, we saw the same thing, but I think it seemed like they could probably merge that a little bit better. Ratchet and Clank, I think, does this really well, especially the first one, where everything does have a bit of a junker feel to the music.
100%.
And I think that's awesome. It matches it just like Sly Cooper. Sly Cooper's does it fantastically. The feeling of being a thief, and like to the point where when you're doing one of the moves, like when you move and you hear the boom 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 boom, boom every time he moves his feet, and I'm like, it's just little things like that that just get the immersion into
They
the
add a
world.
layer because they make you really feel like, it's part of the world versus just setting the mood.
Mm-hmm. And I love that shit, and I've always um I've always just enjoyed every second. Honestly, I'll say it to this day. I know 2025 was only a couple months ago, but I will say that the fact that South of Midnight didn't get anything for best score, didn't nominate for best score, will always kind of piss me off. I love that music personally.
Yeah. Don't think about anybody who's worried about like award shows. Don't think about it too much because
I
like
don't do.
a
I
lot
just
of that
went
stuff
with
is
it. I'm
just
like,
popularity contest.
yeah, it was just like I just want this one to get nominated because it was so cool because I mean, music can take you to completely different worlds, and I think South of Midnight did that so well.
Yeah.
Where it took you to, I've said like South of Midnight, for people who don't know, I kind of call it the Louisiana Alice in Wonderland. A little bit,
That's
what I mean?
good. That's
It's so
good.
like it is. You play as this character named Hazel. Her mom goes missing after a huge storm, and you kind of end up in this altered world, dealing with a lot of like between trauma between the people that dealing with like it's a lot. I'll just say it's a lot, but it's the music itself was so good, along with the stories and how the music worked with it. The first one, which is about, I don't know if you care about spoilers or anything like that. I don't know if you
Go
care.
for it. You
Okay,
should
but
check your audience. I'm not sure.
yeah, like we're gonna hit spoilers in here for South of Midnight. But if you guys don't want spoilers, I don't care. So like,
Sorry, guys.
you getting them anyway. So in the ending of the first like I would say level or world you kind of part of, one of the you find out about the brother who was upset with his other brother because he was getting more attention, and
Okay.
he ends up sealing his brother inside of a tree, like this little hole, and he puts the brother in there, and then he like seals the door up. They're both like young kids, and he doesn't think anything of it, and the brother dies in there, and he dies in the tree. So like when you're actually climbing during this is what I call the Alice in Wonderland part.
Yeah.
What you're climbing this tree, and the tree is in the shape of the brother, and the other one, who the boy who is old now, finally goes to, I believe, if I remember, he finally goes to the tree and just starts crying because he's like, I didn't know, I didn't think this would be, he like, we were both like 7-8 years old at the time. I didn't think you would actually die, and it was the music that they had
That'd be a gut wrenching moment
about the brothers, and how like how he just didn't understand, how they don't understand each other. And I sat there and I was like, bro, I'm sitting there like trying to like hold back fucking tears at this point, because I'm like, damn, this is hitting me.
Like
So
this is like, well, and like, I think there's a benefit as well to us, the composers, when the story is written that well, because music can make a big difference. But I think that the best kind of like soundtracks, the ones so accompanied by like something that really hits. Like if you can get a really powerful story beat, your job as a composer is much easier, because I know how to write music that's going to feel sad, it's going to feel powerful, and then manipulate that to fit within the story. But if the story sucks, because I'll say Dragon Age Inquisition, some of the music in that game, amazing, beautiful, amazing game, but no one liked the story, or very few people liked the story, so it doesn't hit the same way.
interestingly enough, one of the I actually have I've just started, I should say, just started playing Inquisition.
Mhm.
But I did my
Oh
first
wait,
Dragon Age.
Inquisition, wrong one. The one that just came
You're
out,
thinking
Veilguard.
Veilguard. So the first one I played was Veilguard. And like I was like, oh, I'm liking this. Like I think it's actually a pretty decent game. But like I do agree that like a music can only go so far. If your story isn't great, which I don't know. I can only base it off of what I know from the story because I don't know jack shit. I kind of wish they would do what Mass Effect does, where they give you like those dialogue options to go back and be like, hey, this is kind of just what is a Reaper? This is what a Reaper is. Like this is what what I mean. And speaking of which, Mass Effect does that super well.
Oh yeah.
Like
BioWare is honestly, in the past they were so amazing. Like I totally pooped the bed on that. Veilguard is the one that like their music was great. I know people who worked on that project and like the music was amazing, but then the story didn't hit in the same way. But like if you go back to some of their older games, like again, don't discount Andromeda, discount Veilguard, you play like Dragon Age Inquisition, you play Mass Effect 2, 3, like they had, you know, a roughness around the edges, but those games, they had some soul to them, and they had a chosen direction they really went after. If I use Inquisition because that's the one I probably know the best, like it was a much grittier and darker take on fantasy, whereas Veilguard kind of went more, we want to be a little bit more kind of appeasing to the general masses, but people didn't like that because it took away from what made Inquisition and what made Dragon Age was that darker, more dark fantasy kind of take on things. If you get away from that, you alienate your audience.
Well, that's what always makes me wonder too. Like it always makes me wonder like how much is that? Because I believe, if I remember, it was originally EA wanted it to be live service, I believe.
I've heard that, yes.
And they wanted it to be live service, and that was not the direction that BioWare wanted to go. And then like they were kind of had to, and then they scrapped it, and they were like, okay, so we just kind of have whatever's left. And I feel bad because what's crazy, and I will say this, you guys, I get this on record. One of my favorite games to play was Anthem. And like
that's the same situation. That also, I think there was a fight. There was a fight between making it live service or not, and live service won out.
And like I do remember hearing that Anthem was supposed to get like a whole 2.0, kind of like what Cyberpunk got. And it was supposed to get that, but then they were like, no, EA is like, no, we don't want you to do that. Shut that down. We're gonna work on Veilguard. Fuck it. And it sucks because now the servers are gone. So it's just
you can't play it anymore. It's gone.
No, it sucks because I'm like, this game, I'll always wish that EA would just give it off to someone else and let someone else do what they want with it.
Yeah, I mean, in this new era of like acquisitions and all that stuff, it's a little bit scary for anybody with a new idea in the AAA world, at least. If you're indie, doesn't matter because you have a lot less kind of riding on your shoulders. But even us, like when we talk to publishers and stuff like that, about 10 years ago, if you talk to a publisher, you could hand them a couple of gray squares of boxes and be like, this is the gameplay feature. This is what we want to do with it. We just want you to test the feel. And, they'd be like, oh, this feels great. I love it. If you guys ever see the original demo for Hello Neighbor, like it's quite literally that. It's squares and boxes. But people loved the way that the AI was moving. Whereas now when you talk to publishers, they're like, we want a polished demo. Done. Finished. So that we could fully play through and diagnose because risk has it's gone through the roof for these people. Right. And AAA is the same way. Like AAA does not want to touch anything that's not a legacy IP, whether that be film, whether that be game, but they want something that has a history behind it. A lot of people I've heard from kind of the Ubisoft world are say, it's really too bad. We could have had Clair Obscur be a Ubisoft game, but the studio wouldn't allow it. Or at least that's the rumor. It's possible that there's other reasons there. Obviously, office politics can go crazy, and I love the people at Ubisoft. It's not them. There's always someone else saying, I can't do this because what about the shareholders?
Right.
They might think this is a bad idea. Whereas going with like, I don't know, you're a brand new studio and you're trying to come up with an IP. You have this cool spy game, let's say, and you're like, oh, well, we can't make it or get publishers to agree to it unless we put James Bond on it. Because then we have that legacy IP.
That makes sense. And that is unfortunate because it is, as games are getting more and more expensive, especially expensive to make, and it's gonna it's gonna burst. There's gonna be a bubble that's gonna burst. Like I had some people I've seen like through, I do lives, I'll do my TikTok lives. I get bring people in. And like every once in a while I do get people like, why don't they just push the game back? And I'm like, because I'm not gonna lie, most companies don't got Rockstar money.
No.
Rockstar can do that because Rockstar can afford that, but they don't got
People
Rockstar money.
people praise like even Hollow Knight, I forget, Team Cherry, for like pushing back Silksong so long, but it's like their first game made so much money, and then they won't be able to disclose who or why, but they probably had external investors, so they had people pouring money into them because they knew it didn't matter. Silksong was going to come out and make stupid amounts of money. But the average game, even AAA games, cannot account for that. Call of Duty, for the first time in forever, has seen below record sales. They're doing poorly compared to what they've done in the past. Are they still making money? Yes, but they didn't meet expectations, which is always the scariest thing in corporate speak.
If they didn't, if their campaign didn't suck.
Yeah, they got on Battlefield also took a couple hits at them, which really did some damage. But Veilguard was the same thing. Like, did Veilguard make back its development cost? Probably. Based on our current calculations, it did. It made back the development cost. But did it 3 or 4 or 5x its initial investment? No. And that's what those people are looking for these days, because especially people like the Saudi Arabian American fund, Silver Lake, who just acquired EA, they're, financial investors. They're private equity. Are they looking for a 2x like an indie game is? No. They're looking for 5 to 10x, and games just don't really do that.
No,
or very rarely. Stardew did, but Stardew's a very unique case.
Stardew is like a once in a generation.
Yeah, it's
like the only time we saw
game.
that was Minecraft. Like that was the only time I could think that like they blew up like that. But I think you're absolutely correct. And like they're gonna want their money back. And I think like for a lot of gamers who don't really understand the world like of the game industry, you know what I mean? They don't understand the return on investment. They don't understand like who has the shots to call on these, is it because there is so much that gets tossed around, there's so much misinformation, and that's why I also I love bringing people like yourself up so that people get a taste of what these industries actually are and what it means to actually be in there.
Oh yeah, it is just a dog fight. And like it's funny coming from the music side of things, like that is always kind of the last worry is like, no matter how much I want to do with a project, no matter how many things I want to be able to add to it, there's a limit of time and budget. And sometimes time and budget went out, which really sucks. Like I did talk at GDC, which is sort of like the biggest like B2B conference we have in the games industry. And something that I mentioned in my talk is like, we often have to figure out which tracks the ones that are going to get the most importance, because we might not be able to spend the budget on every single one. Like your Pokemon Center track. Let's use Pokemon actually as a good example, because we talked about that earlier. A lot of it's not that memorable, but the battles are. The battle music is really memorable and well done, because they know they need to put that one through the rungs. They need to test that one to all hell. They need to make sure that it's good because players will hear it so much. Whereas your Pokemon Center theme, as iconic as it is, that was the throwaway track. That was absolutely a throwaway track in the first game because they didn't think it was going to matter. That was the track that just, it happened to do well, but it wasn't something they were thinking about. And a lot of the route tracks the same way. Like they know that they can get by doing something a little bit more simple. They don't have to play test it as much. It will be fine.
So sure. I wonder how long Minecraft's going to keep going.
As long as Microsoft is around.
As long as there are like kids who are willing to play it, they're golden. I will say though, Pokemon did come out with that one called Lavender Town, and then that was the one where I'm like, this is such a simple track, but it is incredibly unnerving.
They were so experimental in the early days. I really, there's a bit of a tear. It's so sad. Like, because like if you go to like really early games, they were so much more experimental with their music because they could be. They knew their audience was like 40 people. Even the earliest Pokemon game, as much as we look at that and we say to ourselves, that's a big game. It wasn't by the standards. By the standards of the time, it was an indie game because everything was an indie game back then, except for like maybe Lara Croft. I don't know, that had more of a backing behind it.
Well, and what's interesting is like, as the years have gone on, we've seen like the way that games have become, whether it's storylines, whether it's you watching like how complex the stories have gotten, moving all the way, like you said, from music, gameplay. it's kind of in a way it's kind of fun to be in that era, to be like, now I get to sit there and I'm like, damn, like I saw all that. Like I got to see all the experiment. I remember when Nintendo would just make fucking weird designs. I mean,
Yeah,
I wasn't
yeah.
around for it, but let's be honest, that Power Glove is cool as shit looking. Like,
I mean, I can see why they greenlit it. They were like, people will buy this. This
oh, it was the '80s. People will buy
the
anything that looks
12
like.
people who really like this will probably make back, because it was expensive too, I think. I don't
Yeah, it
remember the
was.
exact numbers, but it was not a cheap thing. So they were like, if we sell this 20 times, we'll make back our money on it.
The
Just put it out
virtual,
there.
like the virtual boy,
Yeah.
the GameCube, which I just call, like, I'm like, if I get into a fight, I'm bringing a GameCube because that thing won't break, and as soon as I'm done, I can keep playing games.
Well, Nintendo, to their credit, like they still experiment. Like the Nintendo Labo, that weird cardboard thing, didn't do well, but they
No,
they tried it. And then stuff like that is what eventually leads to things like the Switch, which is probably the greatest console in my opinion of all time. Yes, the graphics suck on it. I agree, but like Nintendo, they were crazy. They were experimenting with this forever, and they took it from like the Wii, from the Wii U. You just see it all building up to this because they realized they weren't doing well in the console world. They weren't selling that much, not really, not compared to what the PlayStation and Xbox were doing at the time. And the other side of that, though, is that they dominated the handheld market. Every single competitor they just destroyed. The PS Vita, who heard of that? I don't remember that. Disappeared in a day. And they realized, what if we could just consolidate all of our R&D team, just put these two together? No more console, no more handheld, just make them one, and make it so that you buy one console, you have two controllers right off the bat. It's already built for like co-op, like, oh my goodness. And it can work on the TV still.
oh yeah, I mean,
It's
let's be
just
honest, like
genius.
how many people, like, and I've always believed this, like when I go for the Switch, I don't go for the Switch for like the most top tier graphics. That's what that's for. What this for
Yep.
right here. Like that's what that's for. You know, that's not what my that's what I play my Switch because I want to go play Smash Bros and beat the shit out of someone using Yoshi. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Or play
Yeah.
Mario Kart and beat the shit out of them using Yoshi. And so, like, you know, those are the ones that I love because I love the vibrancy, and it does give me the best sense of the nostalgia factor.
It's just Nintendo still, to their core, believes in the it needs to be fun. I don't love what they're doing with their price gouging. I think they're losing a little bit of the fun with that. Not a
Yeah,
supporter of that. But
we.
at
Oh,
least with the
but
gameplay.
is it really, or have we just caught on?
It's
Yeah.
possibly, it could be either. But I will say, at the Nintendo polish is still very real. Like even games that I don't necessarily love, like the new Mario Kart, it's still fun. I still have a good time playing it. I don't ever at one moment say, I want to go do something else. Like, it doesn't happen because they really focus on that. They focus on that above graphics. They focus on that above having named voice actors, having big name composers, having whoever or whatever. They know that that needs to come first. And I think that this industry, as more private equity starts to enter it, it's unfortunate because I think that we start to see more and more of the gameplay get forgotten, and we're looking for visuals because all of these private equity people, what they understand is film, and film is visual. You're not playing it. So when you're going into publisher meetings, when you're going into investor meetings, like they want to see, okay, what graphics do you have? What music do you have? What visuals do you have? And they don't ever ask, what's the gameplay? What's it play like? It's too
No.
bad, because
And
that's what makes our industry interesting, is that it's dynamic. You can interact with it.
was it Ubisoft or was there was another company that I thought that was like, oh, we can, they were making, I don't know if they were making a console or whatever that would allow you to have an AI basically just play the game for you.
Oh, somebody said it. I don't remember who though.
I don't remember who it was. I mean, maybe it was Embark, but like I just, it was interesting because I was like, you
Why?
know, yeah, what's the point?
What's
Like
the point of a game? Like, I want to sit
at that
down
point, that I'm
and
just paying for like a $70 movie.
right? And like, I think that the rise of the success of like From Software proves that people don't just want to play games; they want to really be immersed. Like, people were shocked when Demon Souls and then eventually Dark Souls did so well, comparatively. Obviously, they
Mhm.
obviously
Oh
compared to
yeah.
Elden Ring, they did abysmal. But at the time, they were doing quite well for a relatively unknown studio, and people were like, "Why do people like this so much?" Because that game takes you seriously as a gamer. It says, I know that you want to play a game, and I'm not going to hold your hand. I'm not going to make this easy. I'm not going to turn this into a movie. You need to play the game. You need to figure it out. And they stuck with that core philosophy. Elden Ring's a little bit easier than those games, but not by much. It still holds on to that. I want you to play this game. I hate, personally, when a game holds my hand. I want it to really throw me through the rungs, because if I'm sitting down to play a game, I want to be in that world. Otherwise, I just watch a movie.
Yeah, at that point, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's gonna be like a $70-$80 movie at that point.
So
And that
expensive.
was Sony with the AI. Oh, with the AI.
Oh yeah, they patented it. They patented the ability for like an AI to play your game, if I remember correctly. Don't quote me on that, but I think I
I don't
remember
want
that
no
coming
AI
out.
playing my game. That's the point of the game.
No, thank you. I want to play my game. I want my game made by humans, please.
Oh yeah, no, exactly.
Made by humans, played by humans. I mean, just
Oh,
that's the future the investors want. They want one where like the AI is both making the game and then playing the game, and the money, it just, I don't know, it somehow circulates still.
dude, fuck it. It is. It is. Yeah, like that part. I got to a point where I'm just like, there's. It's fun. Is there's some games that at this point I'm like, I know they're not going to change. I know they're not going to get any better. The sports games more likely. I'm a big sports fan, so it's like it sucks because I'm in this mode where I'm like, if we just stop buying it, they'll be forced to make them. Like they're just going to drop the whole franchise.
And realistically, like, I think something that people also forget is like we're the minority, right? We're talking about like indie games, stuff like that. Indie games account for, again, these are rough numbers, but they're like 2% of the entire video game industry. Like your favorite game, your favorite indie game that you thought popped off, like Hollow Knight, it's like a drop in the bucket for the entire video game industry. Whereas games like FIFA, games like Call of Duty, or the ever-arching like mobile games, those take up massive amount. Like
Mhm.
those are the majority of the market. Those are the 75 80% of the market that you're not thinking about, because the average gamer is now much more diverse than it was in the past. It's not just the weird nerds or the people who, don't leave the basement or stuff like that. We're no longer that audience. It's now every person you go and see at the pub. They're all playing video games too now. And they're
Mhm.
playing FIFA. They're playing NHL. They're playing Call of Duty. They're playing whatever mobile game is currently doing well. Like, that's the scary thing. That's the scary thing that I think that people don't recognize right off the bat.
Yeah, it is. It is like gaming is now. It's literally it's the most probably the one of the most mainstream entertainment that you can get.
Totally.
Like
Even Elden Ring, like its market cap was like 13-14%.
that's crazy.
It's like that's a monumental game, and it captured 15% of the total like gaming market. Oof.
And
Probably,
what's
actually, I say that it's probably less now.
I wonder what I'm trying to think now. I wonder what the stats are for that one. Like how many people have actually fully beaten it? How many people have beaten Millennia? Because this was
I have no idea.
2024. I remember it was still like 20. I think it was like 29% people beat Millennia. Like,
I mean, it's probably like you can look at it like the trophy or the gamer score stat. Like, did they achieve it or not? But yeah, like that's something that just, I think, especially as hardcore gamers and people who work in the industry, always get this wrong. Like, we're thinking, well, I beat the entire game and I sped run it, and then I also watch exclusively gaming videos, and I do this. Like, you are not the average gamer.
no,
I have a 50/80. The average gamer does not.
no.
I've played all the latest series of indie games from this niche creator. The average gamer hasn't even heard of what that is. The average gamer is the average guy, the average girl, the average person who's
It's right
just
here.
sitting down. Yep.
It's that they pop it in, they play for a couple hours, they put it down, and they pick it up like 3 days later.
And I think that's the other big, like, kind of spooky thing is like when we're writing music and stuff like that, when we're designing games, any of the aspects of it, it's like, how do we account for that wide of an audience? And often it just comes down to making sure that it's right for your game, because you're not gonna capture 100% of the global market. But today more than ever, games are so much more diverse. There's so many more people creating it, so many more people playing it. Like, we're such a massive industry. There's so many moving parts. It's hard to keep track of it all. And music, on the side of music, like, I'm like, oh my goodness. You kind of feel like you have to be in everything, man, a little bit.
No, I can imagine. Like 110%. So I got two questions.
Yeah.
The first one, like asking this one. What does gaming mean to you?
Gaming is the ability to escape or find yourself in situations and places that you couldn't be in the real world. My core philosophy with gaming is that it should not be a representation of real life. It should be the escape. It should be the opportunity for you to try something that you would never be able to try in your day-to-day life.
I mean, I tried to skateboard and I lost like part of my tooth here.
Tony Hawk Pro Skater, really fantastic game. Or Skate 3.
Skate 3. You know what's funny? I don't even hate the new Skate one. I came in there with like the expectations of like I heard it was a live service. I'm like, I don't fucking care. Like I'm here to go skate.
I'm here to skate.
Just here to skate, man. Like that.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck. I'm not the one putting the money in. Like
can't do a kickflip to save my life, but in like Tony Hawk Pro Skater, oh yeah. I'm gonna be comboing that stuff like crazy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I can be like, some of y'all don't know how to kickflip, but can you kickflip onto a telephone wire? That's what I thought. You
or like in Skate 3, like be able to jump off like massive things. Like that's the beauty thing.
Oh, dude,
like,
have you seen the one where like they jump and they do the whole like they do the Jesus Christ pose?
Yeah.
he's like they're like explain this, atheists.
Oh my goodness. I'm like that's the beauty of gaming. Like we are not film or TV. Because I don't think you can immerse yourself in those. You are watching an experience. Whereas gaming, like you're right in the middle of it. You can truly do whatever you want, be whatever you want to be. And the best kind of games, the games that really push your ability to, do that. I think the reason of the success of things like Stardew and Minecraft is that they really are kind of everything games. Yeah. Minecraft, you can build whatever you want. Stardew, you can be a fighter, you can be a farmer, you can be a lover. Like, is that every game? No, because there are games that are definitely more meant to be cinematic, like the Final Fantasies like that. And I love Final Fantasy. But I think the truest, most purest games are those ones that tackle into the creativity of the human mind.
No, I would think the very true. When you said that the Stardew Valley, I still have yet to play Stardew Valley. I've told myself I'm gonna try it.
Do it with a partner, makes life so much better.
I've been playing. I just started playing Ball Pit.
Ooh.
And oh my god, I didn't know how to play before. I'm like, dude, what the fuck? This is so fucking slow. This is lame. And then I was like, oh my god, this is brick. It's just brick. And I was like, fuck yes.
Yeah.
It was like, this is awesome. I was like, so like I fucking lost. And I was like, I can level up. I can be awesome. I'm like, fuck yes. So game's fun as hell. That's my new one that I just like, well, fuck. I found my new thing. But and the last question I always have is, where can they find you?
They can find me on TikTok. So I'm Kingaurorusmusic on TikTok. I'm also on Instagram. And then if you're a publisher or a person looking to chat to me about games, LinkedIn. But for anybody who's just looking to view me, TikTok, Instagram, best. Kingaurorusmusic.
Nice. And you know what? I appreciate you being here, man. 110%.
Thanks for having me.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And for those who are also here, you can find me over on Twitch, YouTube. Of course you can, because that's how you guys are watching this shit. But also you can find me up on Instagram, TikTok, especially. That's where a majority of my content goes. You can also find me on Threads, and I do have these actually show up on Facebook as well as Spotify. I've been slowly putting all of my shit on Spotify, and that takes forever. So that's kind of why I got these bags under my house. So I'm sorry, y'all.
Oh yeah, you can also find me on all of the major streaming services for music. I always forget to say that.
I always joke the one day I'm like, you know what? I'm like, I told one of my friends, I'm like, do you think I would get money if I just put it on the hub? And he's like, I don't know, but you can try. And I'm like, damn. I want to try, but I also don't want to get in trouble.
A bigger audience than you'd think.
Right. You're just sitting there like, damn, they actually came to watch my stuff.
You know what? Because this last thing I'll mention on that, because that's crazy. I recently learned that there is a small group of people that are just streaming on the hub. Not anything weird, like just streaming gameplay, normal gameplay on the hub, and they get big audiences. I'm like,
you know what?
Why? And it works. They're making money.
Don't ask questions. Just don't ask questions.
They're like, listen, this has one of the best like SEO algorithms in the world. That's where I'm gonna build my base, my fan base. Like,
you're just like, okay. I'm like, yep. Good enough.
Hey man, I appreciate. I'm gonna respect the grind, the hustle.
Absolutely. Alrighty, everyone. You guys have a fantastic rest of the night. I'm Taylor from Afro Fish OG, and I will catch you all in the next one.